Hello, I'm Andrew Greener, and I'm here with Judith Johnson and Carl Simons. Welcome back to both of you.
Hello, Andrew.
Well, it's good to see you again. And yes, we're here for another Gallantium podcast, and today we're covering the subject of anger. And this is the first mental health issue that we're covering that simply can't be tolerated in the workplace. It can lead to disciplinary action, dismissal. We're all capable of it from one time or another. So how do we keep a lid on it, Judith?
Once anger has occurred, there's a few things that we can do to kind of manage it. And they mainly focus on taking a break and taking some space. So counting to 10, stepping away from the situation. Those things can be the most important things that we do when we feel angry, because it's hard to calm ourselves down in the moment if we stay exactly where we are.
Okay, well that sounds easier said than done. To be fair, it's quite common advice, isn't it? Just count to 10 before we say anything. But I suppose the important thing is, how do we prevent ourselves from getting to that stage in the first place? How can we take a further step back, and what mindset would we ideally be in before getting to that situation?
That's a really good question, because prevention is better than cure when it comes to anger. So I think the first thing is to be aware that anger tends to build on anger. Annoyances build on annoyances. And often, actually, when we kind of come out as being very angry and show angry behaviours, it's the outworking of something that's been building up for a while. So in terms of prevention, it can be useful to make sure that we have a calmer baseline. The research evidence shows that relaxation, taking part in relaxation on a regular basis, relaxation exercises, can be one of the best ways of preventing anger. Also, exercise is really useful for keeping a calm body and helping to keep a calm mind. So reducing that baseline, helping ourselves to be calmer through the day to day, is going to be one of the best ways of making sure that we don't have an angry outburst.
Now, I just wanted to re-emphasize something you said there, because I really like that, Judith. Anger builds on anger, and annoyance builds on annoyance. I've not heard that before, but I really like it. And I kind of, it always gets me thinking whenever I think about anger, we hear terms like toxic masculinity, testosterone-fueled environments, and it's generally wrongly, I guess, perceived that it's male-dominated environments where you have this sort of anger flare-ups. But in truth, anger affects us all, I guess, Judith, yeah?
Men are at higher risk of showing aggression than women are, but absolutely anybody can be affected by anger.
Okay, so as you said at the beginning, in the workplace, there are other mental health issues that we look at, and we can support people with those, but they affect that person and sometimes the team, but nowhere near the impact that you're going to see from anger, and that impacts all of us. So that's a real problem in the workplace. To stop it getting to that stage, Carl, you must have seen examples in your previous roles where things have come to a head. How is that contained?
Yeah, I think it's important to separate. We associate anger with physical and verbal outburst, and we associate that with physical and verbal abuse. But in truth, it's looking behind that at what causes those outbursts, because that's really, nobody wants to get to that point, but that's the last straw where you end up shouting at people, shouting at each other in work, or physically, fight erupts in the workplace. And I've seen it happen. But I would say your approach towards psychological health within the workplace, your mental health policy, your strategy, your culture within the organization is all about removing the frustrations, the annoyances, as Judith put it, that trigger ultimately that building up on layer and layer, which moves into the anger territory. It's really fascinating that there's certain environments in which we are even taught anger. So if I take my time during the military service, we were taught, we called it controlled aggression, but really you're being heightened to a point where they want you to be angry. They stimulate the environment to create that. And then what you're trying to do is simulate the environment of hand-to-hand combat in case you ever do end up in that situation. No different than what a boxer experiences. It's all about the discipline of how you control anger. Now, those are extreme examples, Andrew, but ultimately that's really fascinating when you start to look at it in an extreme context.